Hello and welcome to the vlog. I am back in my thick jumper thing because it is very cold here in the UK right now. So we're in bed, we're cold. I am VA Winter, an indie author, a cold indie author currently, retelling history and classic literature with a speculative twist. And this is Project Freedom, in which I'm endeavouring to rid myself of my day job, clutter and debt. I'm tired. It's Tuesday afternoon. I've been at work this morning. I had a really early shift. I'm struggling to make my brain work. Well, Sunday I didn't do much of anything. I was so tired over the weekend. I was so tired. I don't know why I was so tired, but I was so tired over the weekend. So I didn't really do anything Sunday evening. I just watched YouTube and Netflix. Yesterday I did start Publish and Thrive at Module 5, which is the second marketing module. And I'm going to do some more of that this afternoon whilst in bed with my hot water bottle because it's cold. Yesterday when I was at work, I had a sort of stretch of time where I was kind of on my own. I was just doing something in the back and I was thinking about Daphne, about my story, and thinking about how I can change it, because I've got this idea for another character, potentially a different point of view to sort of introduce. And I was thinking about who that character is going to be and what role they play in the story and what their story arc is going to be, how it's going to all come together. And I was just back to feeling like I miss the story. Like I'm purposefully letting it rest for a few weeks while I do Publish and Thrive. I'm looking forward next month to getting back to it. My plan is to lay out all of my scenes on index cards and sort of go through and which scenes need rewriting, which ones I'm going to delete, which ones just need moving maybe, and kind of like have a physical play with some physical index cards because I work much better physically than just digitally. I'm looking forward to getting back to the writing, rather than at the minute it's like I'm just doing this course and I've got HB90 coming up as well again. So the last couple of weeks in March I'm going to be planning next quarter. I'm going to be doing my Q2 goals and I kind of already know roughly what I aim to have finished by the middle of the year, where I aim to be with it. I'm aiming for an October/November release for the first book. As I've said before, possibly, I don't know if I have said this before, I feel like this is the first book in a long series. It's the first book in what's going to be a 9-book series at least. Once I get the world set for this one, and once I get the plot going, I feel like it's going to be easier. The first book I feel like is the hardest one because I'm still trying to figure out the world building, still trying to figure out what the main story arcs kind of are. I'm still trying to figure out how it all fits together. It's like getting a train on the tracks, and once it's on the tracks, in theory, you just got to figure out then which directions to go rather than having to build the tracks and build the train and put the train on the tracks. I'm not sure if that's a helpful metaphor, but that's kind of the way I'm seeing it. I'm going to do some of Publish and Thrive, hopefully get Module 5 finished this afternoon/this evening. It's something relatively easy I can do whilst I'm being very tired. I can just put it on my iPad, watch the videos, take my notes. I don't have to use my brain a lot. So yes, that's what I'm going to go and do. And I will talk to you later. Good morning. I'd say good morning. It's maybe not morning where you are. It's morning here. It's Friday morning. It's snowing outside. It's not sticking snowing because the ground was already wet, but it's sticking on like the cars and the grass and the roofs of the houses, so it's cold. And I've done a pretty bad job once more vlogging over the last 2 days. I don't know. I've spent most of the last 2 days in bed. I think that's the problem because it's been so cold. So I haven't really been at my desk, so it hasn't really been as like aesthetic and nice to film. I am going to work today though, this evening. Yay. I'm not feeling tremendously enthusiastic about the place. I have finished Stand Out of Our Light, Freedom and Resistance in the Attention Economy by James Williams. This is a book about the attention economy, as it says, which is social media. It kind of branches out into things like Google as well and sort of the internet broadly in a kind of sense, but it is mostly sort of social media. It's very short. It's only like 120, 130 pages. I mean, it's a step up from 10 Arguments to Delete Your Social Media Right Now, which I read last week, because it doesn't reference Wikipedia. It has actual scientific articles that it references and news articles and books So it's more academic in tone, which as the guy is an academic, that makes sense. Don't think it really has much of a coherent argument. Whereas with Jaron Lanier's book, as it says in the title, he wants you to delete your social media accounts. This guy is very much like, I don't feel like he can make his mind up. On the one hand, he seems to be saying the way these companies operate isn't very good. They're based on sort of advertising models. Their sole purpose is to capture as much of your attention as possible, and that disrupts your life. So I get where he's coming from in the sense that, you know, I do find myself compulsively reaching for my phone and scrolling through Instagram and TikTok. It's definitely compulsive. Like, you really have to have some willpower to stop yourself from scrolling. He talks about changing the design of these companies, but he doesn't really argue for necessarily coming off of social media. So it feels a bit like he's making these points about how it affects human psychology and about how it has a negative effect on things like politics and, you know, the sort of echo chamber effect and things like that. Then it just sort of is a bit messy towards the end. I didn't feel like there was a coherent argument about what the answer is to this. There were one or two points I did disagree with him on. Certainly made me think about things, and it gave me a couple of ideas for Daphne, which is the point. I'm now reading Witchery by Juliet Diaz. I'm getting through this really quickly. I'm already halfway through the book. It's just a little bit of a book about witchy stuff, really. There's some spells in here, and there's also information about the witch's year, which is things like Samhain and Yule and Imbolc, and I'm probably saying that wrong, Luna, and these sort of holidays, moon phases. It's very much a take on witchcraft that is sort of self-love, in harmony with nature, that kind of thing. I spent a good few hours on Wednesday thinking about how I'm going to do social media going forwards and what I'm going to do, and starting to think about Q2 planning and Q2 goals. So it's kind of thinking about how do I continue to build my social media whilst also giving myself time to write the books, because I think I've said this in a couple of weeks running about doing this second video, which I haven't done this week. I came to the conclusion on Wednesday that if I do this every week, I am basically going to have about 8 hours a week to write, because a second video takes about 6 to 8 hours. The point for me is to write the books. I want to be an author, not a YouTuber. I mean, I like doing YouTube, and I'm going to keep doing the vlogs, and I'm going to keep doing an extra video every month. Basically, it's going to be the first Friday of every month. I'm going to do an extra video, because there are topics I want to talk about and topics I want to cover and videos I want to do, but I think doing it every week is just too much. I just don't have the time right now, when my focus needs to be on Daphne, on getting the first book out, then getting the second and the third and all the rest of it. So I kind of came up with a bit of a publishing schedule. I've decided on a release date for Daphne, which I will reveal in due course. I've also decided on a title for the first book, which I'll also reveal in due course. And I'm getting excited to go back to editing it. So that's kind of where I'm at. I've made some decisions. I've read a book, started another book, and now I need to edit this vlog this morning. So I will do that. I will edit the vlog, and then I will probably talk to you tomorrow. So I know I said I would talk to you another day, but this has just arrived. I'm supposed to be doing a no-buy, and I broke my no-buy. I couldn't help it. So this is the bullet journal, the artist's edition. It's a special edition, a limited run, an bullet journal, and I had to have it. So I just thought I would film. I mean, how gorgeous is this notebook? Like, I will link the artist who did this down below, as well as the, I don't know, the bullet journal announcement of it or something, because they have different shops based on where you are in the world, so that's awkward. I had to buy it. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's Saturday morning. I'm just ending this vlog because it's Saturday and I need to finish editing it and getting it uploaded. I'm sort of ending it a little bit earlier than I normally would and editing it this morning rather than later on, because I have a later shift tonight at work and I've got time this morning to finish it off, so I may as well do that rather than worrying about getting it done when I get in from work tonight. A couple of weeks ago there was an event run by Pro Writing Aid, which is like a writing / editing software, like a fantasy week, which they held like some live Zoom, I suppose they were originally held on events, and then they put the replays up on YouTube. They were only available until yesterday, so I got an email yesterday being like, the replay's going to come down after today. I had been meaning to watch them. I just kept putting it off because it didn't seem like it was a priority. So, but yesterday I just thought, you know what, if I want to have a look at them, I have to have a look at them. So I had a look at them. Most of them were just stuff I already knew, so stuff that had been covered in Publish and Thrive, which I'm taking. Things like knowing your ideal reader. I didn't find most of the things useful. I just checked out the beginnings of them and clicked off if not, because there was quite a few. It was spread over like 4 days. But two that I found fascinating was an interview with R.F. Kuang, who wrote The Poppy War, Babel. She has Yellowface coming out in May, which I have pre-ordered. She's also doing a PhD at Yale, whilst currently writing all these best-selling books, and I'm just like, well, why the rest of us bothering, really? The more I see of her, the more I really do like her. I enjoyed Babel. I need to reread The Poppy War because I listened to it on audio and I'd like to reread it physically and see how that experience is different, see if I understood it better, because I did get lost a few times in The Poppy War, the trilogy. And then the other one that I really enjoyed was one about character arcs, which character arcs is one of the things in writing which I find the hardest. Like story structure, I feel like I've got as much knowledge as it's almost possible to have. Character arcs is something that I've not really dived into as deeply, and something that I think is a bit more complicated, and I find anyway more difficult. I took quite a few notes on that. So it's thinking about your characters' lie, so their flaw, the thing they're telling themselves that isn't true, and then their want versus their need in the story. So their want being the thing that their external goal, and then their need being the thing that they need to learn, which is usually that the lie is false. And thinking about their ghost, which is the reason they have the lie. So what happened in their past that led them to believe this false thing? So I made a couple of breakthroughs on that, and I was thinking about how that applies to Daphne, but that's it really. I haven't really done anything else. I didn't get through any more of Witchery yesterday, because I still haven't started The Blade itself. I was supposed to be reading The Blade itself by Joe Abercrombie this week. I still haven't started it. It's not been a tremendously productive week this week, and that's okay. Some weeks are going to be that way, and that's just the way it is. I've read a book. I read Stand Out of Our Light by James Williams. I've started Witchery by Juliet Diaz. I've done some thinking about my story, and I feel further on in how I'm going to develop it than I was at the beginning of the week, so that is the most important thing, because that's what needs to move forward. And I've done this vlog, and of course I've done week 5 of Publish and Thrive. Not the most productive week, but I've still accomplished stuff. I'm further towards where I want to be than I was this time last week, which is what's important. So I'm going to leave the vlog here. Hit like if you like, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next week with another video.